You've heard us talk about Hims and how they're helping guys look their best. If you haven't, it's time to see what they're all about. Newsflash, 66% of men start to lose their hair by age 35. Once you've noticed thinning hair, it can be too late. Head to 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skin care, and other wellness supplements for men. It's time to write a new chapter, one in which you'll have hair. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims is helping guys be the best version of themselves with licensed physicians and FDA-approved products to help treat their hair loss. Hims was created by a guy who knows some men's health conversations are easier online than in person. So no more awkward in-person doctor's visits or long pharmacy lines. Dive into 2020 hair first. Right now, my listeners can get started with their first month free. So go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims.com/Stephen A. Prescription requires an online consultation with a physician who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Offer valid only if prescribed. 3-month minimum subscription. Additional restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Remember, that's 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the national airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM/FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio and Sirius XM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airways of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, offering coverage options as unique as your business. Progressive covers companies of many sizes and specialties. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. By the way, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Believe it or not, Jonathan Winthrop, my producer extraordinaire. I'm going to start this. Are you ready for this? Are y'all ready for the strange way in which I'm going to start this show off? I'm not going to start this show off with Kyrie Irving after all. I'm not going to start this show off with Major League Baseball. I'm not going to start this show off with Odell Beckham Jr. I'm going to start this show off with Progressive. And guess why I'm going to start it off with Progressive Insurance? Progressive Insurance, can I say something to you? I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm actually more reliable than Baker Mayfield. He's not playing anymore. You had more commercials for Baker Mayfield than he got wins for you. Meanwhile, Stephen A. is working about 340 plus days a year. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying that Progressive commercial. Don't think that the athlete is just the way to go. Don't think that the athlete is just the way to go. I mean, I'm sorry to give myself a plug, but I just thought about it. I'm literally, John, that came to my mind as I was reading this promo. We got Progressive Insurance doing great business with ESPN. We definitely appreciate it. But I think I've been more beneficial to Progressive Insurance than Baker Mayfield. He's not playing. He damn sure wasn't winning. Completing 59% of his passes. Threw 21 interceptions. Had a below 500. I mean, listen, they weren't impressive. Stephen A. Not to disrespect Baker Mayfield. I think he could play, and I think that he'll have a bright future. It's just that this year wasn't his year. It just struck me as a tad bit odd that he had more commercials on Progressive than actual wins in the NFL season. Just wanted to throw that out there. But like I said, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Got a lot of stuff to get into. I got to get into Kyrie Irving, though. Because, John, do we have sound from Kyrie Irving? Do we have that sound? Because what I saw, what I heard from him last night, and what I saw, I'm not going to lie to you. It was completely disconcerting. It really was. I mean, I couldn't believe what I saw Kyrie Irving say. Says the team's needs are glaring after the Brooklyn Nets lost to the Philadelphia 76ers in Philadelphia last night. I couldn't believe it. Tobias Harris went off, dropped over 30. Kyrie Irving was on the basketball court, ladies and gentlemen, on the basketball court for only the second time since being out for 26 games with a shoulder impingement. He comes back. The team wasn't looking too bad without him. Spencer Dinwiddie reminded us he could ball. Joe Harris and Taurean Prince and these boys, Josh Allen and these boys, they can play. But they're not Kyrie Irving, and they're not Kevin Durant. And we know that Kevin Durant's going to be out for the years. In the case of Kyrie Irving, what were we looking for? We were looking for him to be that star. That star that's signed 4 years, $140 million. That star that's getting paid $31,742,000 this season. That same star that gets paid $387,000 per game. That guy. Listen to what he just said last night.
It's glaring in terms of the pieces that we need in order for us to be at that next level. And I'm going to continue to reiterate it. You know, we're going to do the best with the guys that we have within our locker room now. It's just something that we signed up for. We knew what we were coming into in the beginning of the season. Guys are going down left and right for us. You know, GT's out. DJ got hurt tonight. Wilson's just coming back. And then we have complimentary young guys as well that have done a great job for the last 3 years. So collectively, I feel like we have great pieces, but obviously it's pretty glaring that we need, you know, one more piece or two more pieces that will complement myself, KD, DJ, GT, Spence, Karras, and, you know, we'll see how that evolves.
Cut the damn sound! What? What? What the hell did I just hear? What the hell did I hear this morning? What the hell did I hear last night? In the aftermath of that loss to the Philadelphia 76ers, where the Brooklyn Nets were minus 29, while Kyrie Irving was on the basketball court. I did not just hear we need a complimentary piece, and that is Kevin Durant, but he's hurt. No, that's not what I heard. I heard Kyrie Irving say, we need additional pieces to complement me and KD. Why are they paying you then? Kyrie Irving is getting paid superstar money. Why? Because, damn it, he's a superstar. This brother is all world. $31 million. $31 million. $387,000 per game. Divide $31,742,000 by 82, and it amounts to $387,097. Times that by the 26 games that Kyrie Irving has missed, paid for every one of them. And the Brooklyn Nets have paid Kyrie Irving for the 26 games he's missed $10,064. That's how much time he's missed. No problem. You injured, you're injured. I understand. I'm certainly not accusing Kyrie Irving of faking an injury. And I don't have any problem. If he's hurt, he's hurt. And y'all want to jump. Everybody want to jump on him, and they want to go like this. Oh, man, he threw his team under the bus because he talked about not having enough pieces. Y'all focus on that. That's not my focus. I know Damien Woody could play. I know Joe Harris could play. I know Taurean Prince could play. Oh, by the way, Kenny Atkinson could coach a little bit. Sean Marks is doing a hell of a job. Sean Marks is doing a hell of a job. I don't understand for the life of me why the Brooklyn Nets can't get more shine, considering that they're really the only basketball team in town at this particular moment in time. But I got news for you. I don't want to hear anything about those other people. Because if you have two superstars on your team with those complementary pieces that Sean Marks has assembled on the Brooklyn Nets, I got news for you. If Kevin Durant is healthy, the Brooklyn Nets are a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference in position to go to the finals right now as the roster is presently constructed. This ain't about some pieces that they need. It's about Kyrie Irving. I cannot believe what I have seen. I cannot believe what I have heard. Why the hell are they paying you if you're going to make a statement like that? This is basketball, ladies and gentlemen. With the complementary pieces that the Brooklyn Nets have, a healthy KD is all Kyrie Irving should need. For Kyrie Irving to sit up there and say, oh, obviously, we're not there. We need complementary pieces to help me and KD. No, bro, that's about you. Now, this might be a shock to all of y'all because we all know that I do nothing but rave about Kyrie Irving. Personally, I love the brother. I think he's misunderstood. I think sometimes because he's misunderstood, he acts out with levels of frustration that really reveals a worse side of him than the one that truly exists. But this statement right here, there is no excuse for Kyrie Irving to say what he said. He just can't help himself. He's messing up. And somebody needs to tell him, hell no. This is basketball, man. You got two superstars on the same team. You automatically a contender. You have the supplementary pieces that the Brooklyn Nets have. With Dinwiddie and Prince and LeVert and Allen and Harris and these boys, there is no excuse for you not to be a title contender. What the hell are you talking about? That you need more than you and KD. Now, if you said we're a piece away, but we need K, and that piece is KD, no problem. That is not what Kyrie Irving said. Play it again for them, y'all. Play it again for my audience. Exactly what Kyrie Irving said. And I want y'all to listen to the part where he's talking about needing stuff on top of him and KD. Listen to this.
It's glaring in terms of the pieces that we need in order for us to be at that next level. And I'm going to continue to reiterate it. We're going to do the best with the guys that we have within our locker room now. It's just something that we signed up for. We knew what we were coming into in the beginning of the season. Guys are going down left and right for us. GT's out. DJ got hurt tonight. Wilson's just coming back. And then we have complimentary young guys as well that have done a great job for the last 3 years. So collectively, I feel like we have great pieces, but obviously it's pretty glaring that we need, one more piece or two more pieces that will complement myself, KD, DJ, GT, Spence, Karras, and, we'll see how that evolves.
One or two more pieces that will complement myself and KD. Just inexcusable. Inexcusable. I'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Can't wait to take your phone calls on that matter, but we have some breaking news that we need to address right now. As of minutes ago, literally minutes ago, as first reported by Yahoo Sports, followed up and validated again by ESPN, Carlos Beltran, the new manager for the New York Mets, has been fired. He is no longer the manager of the New York Mets. For those of you who do not know, this scandal involving the Houston Astros and their sign stealing scheme that was exercised during the 2017 World Series and postseason overall. They won that World Series, but they were stealing signs, technological advancement. They had equipment placed out in center field, a monitor placed near the dugout where they literally could monitor the signs. A catcher was given a pitcher, and they were stealing these signs to facilitate better at-bats for their hitters. It ultimately delivered a World Series to them. We don't know how far it extended beyond that because according to the commissioner's report, the 9-page report, it stopped around September of 2018 or whatever. And they ultimately lost in the postseason that year. The Boston Red Sox had won. If you recall, Alex Cora, the manager for the Boston Red Sox, was the bench coach for the Houston Astros at that particular moment in time in 2017. Winning the World Series obviously helped him get the job as the manager with the Boston Red Sox, where he won the World Series in 2018. The Boston Red Sox announced that they mutually agreed to part ways about 36 hours ago. We all know that was a lie. Alex Cora was fired. And obviously with Carlos Beltran being a manager, ultimately he has been dismissed. It's appropriate because if he was dismissed, it's clear that he was involved in the sign stealing scam. And as a manager, you're a leader and you set a standard that others are supposed to follow. For those of you wondering why players themselves clearly complicit in all of this, because if guys are banging trash cans to indicate to you what pitch is coming next and you're a player and you listen to it, that means you were fully aware of the scheme. You were a participant in the scheme and you did nothing to stop the scheme from continuing. So there are a bevy of Houston Astros that are guilty of this. But according to numerous reports, the commissioner's office essentially granted the players immunity in the event that they told the commissioner exactly what was going on. And that's why the players are not being punished for this. And instead, the punishment is being exacted against the managers, and in Houston's case, a general manager as well. Excuse me, cough for a second. As for those who want me to, again, highlight why the managers and not the players, it also is important to point out that in September of 2017, prior to the Astros winning their World Series, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, had sent a letter to all the teams, front offices, managers, etc., letting them know that they were hearing about such activity and it needed to cease and desist immediately. And if it did not, the manager and the general managers would be held accountable. That was his warning to the respective teams. Houston obviously didn't stop, got caught, and that's why the manager and the general manager are without a job. Alex Cora, the bench coach in Houston before becoming a manager in Boston. So he was a part of back-to-back World Series champions, Houston and then Boston. Clearly, through cheating tendencies, he's gone. And Carlos Beltran, if you're the Mets, well, he was a player. Well, how are you going to punish him? Because he's a manager now, that's why. And what kind of example are you setting now? If indeed you were to keep your job. That's clearly the position that the Mets are taking. Why must the Mets take this position? Why could they not sit idly by and just let things go? You know why? Because they're in the same city as the New York Yankees. That's why. New York Yankees just acquired Garrett Cole in the offseason. The New York Yankees are the clear favorites to win a World Series. They are the Bronx Bombers. They are the standard. The Mets are perennial fair-weather stepchildren to the New York Yankees. And with the Yankees expecting to have the season, we're all expecting them to have this season. There is no way around the fact that if you are the New York Mets, you cannot have the back pages of every sports section in the city and throughout the baseball community when they talk about you, this issue dominating the headlines when you're up against the New York Yankees. That's just not going to cut it. That's just not going to cut it. And so it's because of that reality that the Mets had to take this position. There is no way around it. It was the right call to make, and there's no way to escape it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go to Mike. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike?
Hey, man. How you doing? Long time no see. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, bro. Go ahead.
I was want to talk about Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
You know, Stephen A., I know you love him, man. I love Kyrie too, man, but I really believe there's something going on with him, man, with all these, outbursts he done had over, last year. So, starting back with getting traded from Cleveland.
Hold on, Mike. What do you mean something's going on with him?
I'm just talking about, I think his mental state, man. Mm-hmm. I just think his mental state ain't where it was, before all these things started, evolving with him. I just think, at first he was a nice, mellow, dude, and, he just went about his business and just, did what he needed to do. But now that he's in front of that mic more, man, things just starting to come out his mouth like this last incident. That
my whole point is if you are a star and Kevin Durant is healthy, what the hell do you mean you need additional pieces on top of that? That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. That's my issue. All of this other stuff that everybody's talking about, I'm not getting into that with Kyrie. My only issue with Kyrie Irving is if Kevin Durant is healthy and you're healthy, who the hell are you to say y'all need more? Then why am I paying you? Why am I paying you? You Kyrie Irving. He's Kevin Durant. That should be enough based on the other pieces that you already have on the Brooklyn Nets. I find it inexcusable, bro. I really do.
Exactly. That was the whole point of y'all going there, because with y'all two, all you need is fill-ins, and y'all favorites to come out the East without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think, man, there's more going on with him, Stephen A. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't like this a few years ago. But ever since, him and LeBron got at odds and everything, man, he's just been running with everything,
Yeah, he don't seem the same. Go ahead, Mike.
Man, on everything you've been doing, and I hope to see you at the All-Star game. I'm going to be there, man.
All right, my man. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, bro. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Our very own NFL analyst extraordinaire, Damien Woody, will be on with us in a few minutes or so. Plus, we'll get more into Beltran and the Mets firing him. This controversy is not going anywhere. The players in Major League Baseball are absolutely positively getting off the hook. They're getting off the hook, getting the pass. Lucky them. I'm so surprised. Baseball players. This were basketball, football players, please. They'd probably be banned. But baseball, somehow, some way, they get protected over and over and over again. I wonder why. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set of screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Your time is precious, so let Indeed help you get to your short list of qualified candidates and discover why more than 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. That's Indeed.com/hire.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
29 minutes past hour number one, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. As you all know, tomorrow will be my last show hosting the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. I'll still have an NBA show, still be doing First Take, be producing some content for ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and beyond. So I'm doing some other things, but I'll never be too far away. You'll hear my voice on the radio plenty of time. I promise you that. One of the brothers that I will miss is the brother I'm about to talk to right now. But before I do that, let me say this. Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid Seat. Also, the Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro plus premium gasoline, engineered with 4 levels of defense against gunk wear, corrosion, and friction. My next guest on the line does a great job for us analyzing the sport of the National Football League and beyond. Does a great job on Get Up, does a great job on First Take, does a great job on NFL Live, does a great job on Sports Center and beyond. My brother, big boy himself. I don't know about his wardrobe, the lack of ties. I think he just does it at this point just to irritate me because he want to act like he the boss, the one and only Damien Woody. So what's up, big boy? How you doing, man?
I am the boss. I'm glad you finally recognized.
You better watch your mouth. I want to tell you about that. Man, you better watch your mouth, man.
Just because your time on radio is coming to an end, it don't matter. I still run this.
Ooh, I'm going to deal with you later. You lucky I don't have but so much time to deal with you today. Let me ask you this question, man. Did you see the video? Because I don't know if you've heard the news. Odell Beckham Jr., you were talking about him this morning, right, on Get Up and then on First Take, because he was giving out money to the players. I don't know if you know this, but a simple battery charge has been filed against him because during his time in the locker room when he was celebrating with LSU, he slapped a police officer in the backside. So as a result of it, he's going to be excuse me? It was a male police officer, not a female, a male police officer. He slapped the guy in the backside. And the police officer obviously turned around and was very turned off by that. He did not appreciate that. But that's what Odell Beckham Jr. did. And as a result, he's got a simple battery charge to take into account. Your reaction?
Well, he got the attention that he was looking for. Stephen A. is, I think this whole weekend, man, has been real unfortunate for Odell Beckham Jr. From the on-field incident where he was handing out money to the players, and then obviously the incident in the locker room where he slapped the rear side of a police officer. It's just it just seems like for the longest time we've been talking about when we address Odell Beckham Jr. It's never been about like law enforcement or getting in trouble with the law, but it's always been these incidences where everything points to him and it's about him and it's not about where the focus needs to be. And now it's finally, come to the point where now it has involved law enforcement. So it's just really disappointing, man, because the dude is not a bad dude. I think we both can agree on that. No. But too many times he put himself in situations where, we're forced to talk about these type of issues.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw you and Dominique going at it, and Dominique's position was simple. He's not saying that Odell Beckham Jr. is doing everything the right way, but he's saying it's really, really no big deal in the grand scheme of things. I don't think he saw this video with him slapping the male officer in the backside. I don't think Dominique Foxworth saw that. But in terms of just giving players money on the field and what have you, it wasn't the wisest thing to do, but he wanted to focus on the hypocrisy of the NCAA more so than anything else. My argument is, well, you know how the NCAA can be. And you know how things can go awry. Why put yourself in that position at all? Why even do that? That would be my position. What about yours?
Well, I mean, I pretty much said the same thing on Get Up this morning. My whole thing was, listen, you're on the field immediately after, your alma mater, LSU, won the national title, and you're standing in front of a camera handing out money to players. That's making it about you. Not only is it a NCAA violation, but more importantly, you're taking away from the players in that particular moment, that special moment that'll stick with them for the rest of their lives, and you're making it about you. And that's the unfortunate thing, man. We just talk about these things time and time again with Odell Beckham Jr. These incidents where it's about him and it's not about the bigger picture.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The one thing that I will say is that I still believe that the Giants were foolish to let him go. I don't think you lose him. I think you keep him. I think about what Daniel Jones has looked like, and imagine Daniel Jones being able to throw the ball to him, and having Saquon Barkley come out of the backfield. That's my position. But based on some of the things that you've seen, again, not a bad guy, isn't breaking any laws, at least up to the moment anyway. Your mentality about the Giants letting him go, do you think it was the right decision, the wrong decision, in light of how we view Odell Beckham Jr. at this particular moment in time?
Well, listen, I think the one thing that we can both agree on is Odell Beckham is a generational type talent. He's one of the most explosive, best wide receivers that we've seen come into the National Football League in a long time. But Stephen A., the fact of the matter is, they didn't win anything with Odell Beckham Jr. Now that could be for a variety of reasons. Where we talk about coaching, where we talk about Eli Manning and his his descent as far as his skill set is concerned. But there's no denying Odell Beckham Jr.'s skill set. But I think the Giants figured, you know what, we need to allocate our money, spread it across to make our team more complete, rather than give all this money to one guy. And ride it out that way. So I just feel like the New York Giants did what was in their best interest as far as the team is concerned.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. While I've got you on the phone with me right now, let's go AFC, NFC. Kansas City hosting the Tennessee Titans. What are you looking for in this game? What type of an outcome are you anticipating?
Well, listen, like we talked about on First Take, styles make fights. You got the Tennessee Titans who are just, they go out there and deal body blows. And, the Kansas City Chiefs, man, they just throw haymakers at you. So I think the real thing is, this thing is going to boil down into the trenches. Can the Kansas City Chiefs stand up to the bully and the Tennessee Titans? Because if they bludgeon the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to make this game very close and very interesting. We know the speed and the playmakers that the Kansas City Chiefs have on offense. But if the Tennessee Titans can slow this game down with Derrick Henry and run that football and wear this team down, they can absolutely win this game.
It's interesting. I want to know what you thought about this analogy. I look at Kansas City's offense, right, as high-powered as it is. It reminds me of when Miami's was in the league with Dan Marino and they had Mark Superduper and Mark Clayton with Chuck Muncie coming out of the backfield at least some of those times. I think about Air Coryell with Dan Fouts, Don Coryell coaching the team. They also had Chuck Muncie at one time running the football for them. They had Charlie Joyner as a receiver. They had Kellen Winslow Sr. as a tight end. And as high-powered as those offenses were, similar to what Kansas City is now, here's the advantage that I think Kansas City had over both of those two teams. Those two teams religiously played in warm weather conditions, being in Miami, being in San Diego. Kansas City, being in Kansas City, they're capable of doing what they do in cold, freezing, inclement weather, more so than that San Diego Chargers team from the 80s or the Miami Dolphins. What do you say to that?
Well, no, I think you bring up a good point, because a lot of the teams you talk about, whether it's like the greatest show on turf or some of the teams that you talk about, the conditions or the weather conditions did play a factor as far as how those teams were constructed. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs, being an outdoor team in the Midwest, playing in inclement weather, and they don't let those things, they don't let them things get in their way. They can play in any type of condition. So I think they were smart of the Kansas City Chiefs to be built in that manner. But again, when you get to this point in the playoffs, guess what matters the most? The trenches. Okay, we talk about the quarterbacks, and rightfully so, because it's the most important position in sports. But if you can't win up front, what good is Tyreek Hill is when you get beat up and battered, at the line of scrimmage?
You know what's funny too, Damien? Nobody has brought up the fact that Tennessee played against Kansas City this regular season and beat them 35-32. Even though it was at Tennessee, the Titans did beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on November 10th.
They did. Now, I will say this. I will say Patrick Mahomes that was his first game coming off an injury. Yeah, so he wasn't 100% at the time.
Well, let me pause you for a second. Mm-hmm. He was 36 for 50 for 446 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I know, and you know what's scary? He wasn't 100%, Stephen A.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. That was his first game back from that dislocated kneecap, and that's what he did. So this is a little bit different Kansas City Chiefs team, because not only is Patrick Mahomes 100%, but their defense is a lot better than what they were in the earlier matchup. So it's going to be a good game.
Interesting tidbits before I move on to the NFC. Mahomes threw for 446 yards that game. Derrick Henry ran for 188 yards that game. Tyreek Hill had 11 receptions for 157 yards that game. I don't think anybody would be surprised if all three scenarios displayed itself for this AFC Championship game. The difference is that this game is in Kansas City, and that might determine the outcome. We're talking to Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before I let you get on out of here, San Francisco against that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. What are you anticipating? What are you looking for?
Oh, man, listen, I think it's going to take a Herculean effort by Aaron Rodgers, because that San Francisco 49ers defense is legit on all three levels. They got, 4 or 5 pass rushers, first-round pass rushers that can get after the quarterback. They're great at the linebackers, and they're elite in the secondary position. So we can't have moments from Aaron Rodgers in this game. We need the old Aaron Rodgers. If the Green Bay Packers are going to beat the 49ers this week, we need to see the old Aaron Rodgers play a complete game. If he does that, they have a chance. They can win out in Santa Clara.
But what do you think will happen? I know what could happen if Aaron Rodgers shows up.
I think the 49ers are going to win. I think the 49ers are the most complete team in football. I think they're the most complete team in football. They're physical on both sides of the ball. They can run it. They can throw it.
Right.
They play elite defense. I think they're the best team in football, in my opinion.
I do think, before I let you get on out of here, would you be picking Kansas City to beat San Francisco, or the other way around, if they were to meet in the Super Bowl?
I think I would pick San Francisco.
By the way, I think it's appropriate to let my audience know you did pick the Dallas Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl this year, did you not?
Oh, so now we back on that again?
I'm just asking a question. We back on that again? I'm just asking a question. It's a fair question. It did happen.
We were having such a pleasant conversation.
Did it not happen?
And then you want to bring up old stuff.
Did it not happen?
You want to bring up old stuff in.
Did it not happen? You the one that sat up there and said you was going down with the ship.
Everyone knows who I picked and all that.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Bring up old stuff.
I don't know about that. Why you scared? Why you scared? Why you scared to validate that? That's what you said. Why you scared? Why you scared? Why you scared? Why you scared?
I'm gonna deal with you when I get back in studio.
I'm just saying, did you not pick the Cowboys to come out of the NFC? Yes or no? Could you tell my audience that, please? Did you not do that? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Damien Woody,
okay.
You have a nice weekend. Enjoying San Francisco or Green Bay going to the Super Bowl like I told you would happen instead of the Cowboys. Have a nice day, Damien. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'm going to remind him about that till the cows come on. Pick the damn Cowboys. Go to Super Bowl. What's wrong with him? I don't know what he was thinking of. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with your calls and more. Before hour number 2 is up next. By the way, we all love a night out, whether it's seeing our favorite band in person or being there in the crowd to cheer on our favorite team. Vivid Seats is the top source for tickets for all the live events you want to go to. To make things even better, Vivid Seats now has a loyalty program that allows fans to earn credit back. All you need to do is download the Vivid Seats app to purchase tickets and start earning today. Get out to the biggest concerts, games, the hottest theater shows, and more. Download the app and join the Vivid Seats Rewards loyalty program today.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
You've heard us talk about hymns and how they're helping guys look their best. If you haven't, it's time to see what they're all about. Newsflash, 66% of men start to lose their hair by age 35. Once you've noticed thinning hair, it can be too late. Head to 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skin care, and other wellness supplements for men. It's time to write a new chapter, one in which you'll have hair. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims is helping guys be the best version of themselves with licensed physicians and FDA-approved products to help treat their hair loss. Hims was created by a guy who knows some men's health conversations are easier online than in person. So no more awkward in-person doctor's visits or long pharmacy lines. Dive into 2020 hair first. Right now, my listeners can get started with their first month free. So go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims.com/Stephen A. Prescription requires an online consultation with a physician who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Offer valid only if prescribed. 3-month minimum subscription. Additional restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Remember, that's 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here over the live national airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Stephen A. Smith Show's ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Also, tune into the ESPN Daily Podcast, bringing you a deep dive into a single story from one of ESPN's hundreds of reporters, presented by Dell Small Business. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily, available wherever you enjoy your podcasts. I'll get back to your calls in just a few minutes or so, but on the line with me right now, he is the afternoon drive host for ESPN New York, 98.7 FM. He is the voice of the New York Yankees, one of the extraordinary baseball analysts in the United States of America, my buddy, my pal, the one and only Michael Kay is on the line with yours truly right now. Also does an outstanding job for the Yes Networks, obviously with the Yankees and Center Stage, where he had me as a guest one time. Thank you for that. The one and only Michael Kay is right here with me right now. What's going on, big time? How are you?
All good. You are a great guest. People still talking about that.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Listen, Michael, let me get to this, man. Carlos Beltran just fired. You know all about the investigation involving the Astros, the 9-page report by the commissioner, Rob Manfred, the firing of general manager Jeff Luhnow for the Houston Astros, manager A.J. Hinch, Alex Cora, who was a bench coach on that team with the Astros before getting the managerial position with the Boston Red Sox, basically having back-to-back World Series champions, first with the Astros, then with the Boston Red Sox. If you're Alex Cora, he's now out as manager of the Boston Red Sox, and now the latest domino has fallen. Carlos Beltran, just hired months ago, set to start his first spring training as a manager next month, fired by the New York Mets. They say they mutually agreed to part ways, just like they said with Cora, but we all know what that means. In the end, your thoughts about what has transpired?
Well, it's a terrible week for baseball. It can't be spun any other way. These are good baseball men. When you look at it, Stephen A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora were looked at as the prototypical new age manager. Everybody wanted their own Cora and Hinch. They're gone. Carlos Beltran was the next wave. I've met very few people in baseball in all the years I've done it for 30 years that are more liked and respected than Carlos Beltran. These are not bad people who did something wrong. These are good people that did something wrong, and that adds a level of drama and pathos to it that it really shouldn't have. But, sometimes if you do something wrong, you got to pay the price. It's weird the way the Mets did it, though, Stephen A., because I look at this, that they were paralyzed. They had this information since the beginning of the week. Jim Crane acted within the hour.
Yep.
The Red Sox investigation still going on for the 2018 season. The Red Sox acted that day. What were the Mets waiting for? I think they were just seeing the way the wind blow. I think that they didn't want to fire him, and I wouldn't have jumped them if they didn't fire Carlos Beltran. I understand why they did, but I hope they didn't fire him because they were worried about backlash if they didn't.
Why would you not have had a problem with them if they had neglected not to let him go, considering that was the lone player's name that was implicated in the commissioner's report?
Well, because the players were given immunity for speaking, and they obviously told the truth. And if you look at the Mets statement with the mutual parting of the ways, they said that Carlos had been truthful with them throughout. So if he told them exactly what he did after they hired him, because the timeline is they interviewed him before and hired him before the story in The Athletic came out. But afterward, if they called him in and said exactly what was going on here, and he told them, well, then they're only acting because everybody else acted. I look at it this way. Major League Baseball didn't punish them. I think Major League Baseball, I give them credit for the way they handled this. I don't think they should have given the players total immunity, but they did. And I guess the Mets are saying, listen, we don't want to be attached to a guy who has a stain on his resume now. But there's a lot of people that would stand up for Carlos Beltran as well. I think they probably did the right thing for the long-term and short-term interest of their team. But, again, I would not have blasted them on my radio show today if they decided to stay with him.
You said that you wish that the players had not gotten off scot-free. A lot of people have struggled to decipher what kind of punishment did they deserve, and more importantly, how would it be implemented? How do you discover how many players, what specific players were involved, et cetera, et cetera? How do you differentiate between those who were and those who were not? And what kind of punishment could you reasonably implement? You know baseball better than almost anybody, Michael K. How do you answer that question? How would something like that be resolved?
I don't know, Stephen A., what the investigators covered up. I mean, the only name that they mentioned in the report was Beltran. So obviously he seemed like he was one of the ringleaders. I think that what Manfred did was the most judicious thing to do. He punished the people that he could punish without any pushback. If you start to punish players, you're going to have to deal with the union. They are going to appeal. Obviously, the suspensions would be held up during the appeal, and you'd have players playing a season with an appeal hanging over their head and a possible suspension. I don't know what I would have given them, but doesn't it seem unfair to you, Stephen A., that the guys that benefited most, the players, they didn't lose the ability to call themselves champions. They didn't vacate the title. A lot of them got paid a lot of money off great seasons in 2017, particularly Jose Altuve. There's no punishment for the players, none. Yeah, they have a little stain on their name, but there's really nothing that you could look to and say, would they do it again? Yeah, they might do it again.
Let me tell you what I do.
They do it again?
Let me tell you what I do. How do you like this idea? I'd make sure I go to the Houston Astros facilities immediately, confiscate that World Series championship trophy, and demand that every single player give back their championship ring. How about that?
You know what? If you took over the champion, like if the Red Sox, for some reason, I don't think the Red Sox will, nor do I think they should. If they're told to vacate their 2018 title, they'll go, okay, we had 3 more in the last 10 years anyway.
Right.
If you take it away from the Astros, that's a big deal. That's the only title they have ever won. So, again, I think that Manfred did the best with what he could do, but he could have vacated that title. I've heard a lot of people. I've talked to Jeff Passan, who I know you did earlier in the week as well. He said you can't rewrite history. Yeah, you could try.
Yeah.
You could try, because right now they have a mental asterisk next to their name. Why not make it official? Take the championship away. I'm not saying give it to the Dodgers or give it to the Yankees.
Neither am I.
But no one should be a champion.
Nobody should be a champion. And I'd say take those rings back, because let me tell you something. Every member of the Boston Red Sox wasn't on their 3 previous championships. As far as I'm concerned, I take the 218 rings back. I take the 217 rings back. I also take that championship trophy away from their respective facilities, and I'd call it a day. Move on. To me, that would send a profound message. But let me ask you this question, Michael K., before I let you get on out of here. You talk, getting back to Beltran for just a second here. When we talk about players and how they haven't suffered or whatever, and we see how contrite Carlos Beltran has appeared, and he gave a statement to our own Marley Rivera that I'll read a little bit in a few minutes or so. But when you talk about the players and what can or can't be done or whatever the case may be, do you think it's a situation where these players genuinely believe they were wrong, or they're disgusted because they believe much ado about nothing has been made of this?
Oh, I think they thought they crossed the line, but I think if there's any disgust whatsoever, it's probably that other teams do it. And they got caught because of great reporting by The Athletic, and then Mike Fiers obviously came through and gave a quote on the record, so that kind of legitimized it and forced Major League Baseball's hands. I'm sure other teams do it, but you know what? Everybody speeds. The guy that gets pulled over gets the ticket. That's the way the world is, and they got pulled over and they're getting the ticket. But the players don't have to pay the ticket. A.J. Hinch, Jeff Luhnow, Jim Crane, they're paying the ticket. Although Jim Crane, I believe, not paying enough of a ticket. But again, Manfred handcuffed by the fact that the most that he could fine a team is $5 million. I thought that they would get hit by a lot more, but he's not allowed to hit them with much more.
Do you think the firings are justified, or do you think they should have been suspended for the year?
Well, the suspension, I understand. Each team has to make the decision, do they want to be associated with somebody and have that hanging over the head. I think it sets an organization back, Stephen A., where you're waiting. There's going to be a manager this year, and then a different manager is going to be waiting to be next year, and you got to police that. I think it's got to be a clean break. I understand why both ownership groups did it. I really do, and now why the Mets did it as well.
Last question. As a guy that obviously covers the sport of baseball in incredible fashion, synonymous with the sport of baseball in a ways most others are not, what baseball means to you, how do you feel about the state of baseball today? It's one thing that they're going through a rough patch for just the next few days or whatever, but you think about football, you think about basketball, you think about steroid scandals and, domestic violence and all of this other stuff. Obviously, this is a different animal, and we get that. But the flip side to it is this. When you look at Major League Baseball right now, how much trouble do you think this sport is in because of this latest fiasco, this latest controversy?
It's a great question. I don't think it's in a lot of trouble. And if it is in trouble, it's just because the people that are in it and the people that cover it take it like it's a religion. Deal with it like it's church. Let's just look a couple of days ago, Stephen A. Alex Karras, who was suspended from football a full year for gambling, just got elected to the Hall of Fame. Baseball puts itself on such a pedestal like it's a religion rather than a sport. Stuff like this in football, the New England Patriots are still celebrated, and they should be, as an unbelievable organization. They got caught cheating. You could say they got caught cheating twice if you want to include Deflategate. So I think this is a big bird dropping on the windshield of baseball, but a quick wipe of the wipers will get it away, and the game will move on. I
apologize because I do have one more question, because you brought up Alex Karras and how he gambled on football, and then he was suspended for a year, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, when you talk about gambling in sport, you got a guy like Pete Rose, who's been banned for life. In light of that, you see the discrepancy there. I mean, should people look at Pete Rose differently when we see stuff like this going on? Is that possible?
Well, the problem I have with the Pete Rose situation, Stephen A., the fact that baseball took the vote away from the writers and wouldn't even let them decide if he belongs in there, to me is criminal, because the writers then should have drawn a line in the sand and say, if you don't let us make the decision on whether or not he belongs, then we don't want our vote anymore. But they love that vote so much they would never do it. The writers have done the right thing when it comes to the PED guys. They would have done the right thing with Pete Rose. The fact that he has not been voted on, to me, is the wrong thing. But the fact that he was punished the way he was, That's legitimate. There's a rule. It's hanging in every single clubhouse. You can't gamble on baseball. He spit in the face of that, and then he lied about it for a long time. So I understand why he was suspended from baseball and not allowed to return. But the fact that he's not allowed to even be voted on by the voters of the Hall of Fame, that's a bad one on baseball. That should be lifted. Let the writers make the decision. They make the decision on everybody else.
Michael K., always appreciate the great work you're doing, man. Looking forward to listening to you at 3 p.m. on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Thanks a lot, buddy. I really appreciate it.
We're going to miss you on the radio, bud.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. But you know I'll be back whenever you call. You know that.
Oh, you got it. Thank you.
All right, my man, my brother, the one and only Michael K., right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, Carlos Beltran, issued a statement to our very own, ESPN's very own Marly Rivera, who's also very, very wonderful, by the way. She does a wonderful, wonderful job covering sports for us. Here's what he said to Marly Rivera. Quote, over my 20 years in the game, I've always taken pride in being a leader and doing things the right way. And in this situation, I failed as a veteran player on the team. I should have recognized the severity of the issue and truly regret the actions that were taken. I am a man of faith and integrity, and what took place did not demonstrate those characteristics that are so very important to me and my family. I'm very sorry. It's not who I am as a father, a husband, a teammate, and as an educator. The Mets organization and I mutually agreed to part ways, moving forward for the greater good with no further distractions. I'm not buying that it's mutually agreed. I think that's the way to go, because when you have people that you respect as human beings, you don't want to throw them out with yesterday's trash. You want to give the impression that it's mutually agreed upon and there was no friction. And that's not to say there was, but Carlos Beltran was basically told, we're letting you go. Alex Cora was basically told, we're letting you go. And you can label it this way if you want to, and we'll take no resistance to that, but the decision has been made. I believe that is what has happened. I think that's fairly obvious, and it is what it is. Michael K. also brought up something very, very interesting from the standpoint of he and I both agree the players should have been punished somehow, some way. How you going to do it, I don't know, but that should have been figured out. I definitely think that should be the case. There is no doubt about it. It's an incredibly sad day for baseball. It's an incredibly sad day. And I think, to me, it highlights what's been going on. See, baseball is always the last of the party. You know why they're always the last of the party, ladies and gentlemen? Because in America, when you talk about white picket fences and you talk about America's national pastime, remember those antitrust laws and how strongly it favored Major League Baseball more so than any other pro sports league in the United States of America, that they had perks and leisures that other sports like football and basketball simply did not have for decades. You've got politicians that were synonymous with lauding over baseball players, viewing them as iconic figures. Remember, even as late as a few years ago, when Roger Clemens, with his idiotic self, minding his, in retirement, nobody bothering him, gonna sit up there and be all defiant about how he never used steroids and wagging his finger and talking about, he didn't do anything wrong, etc. And then all of a sudden he shows up on Capitol Hill and talks about what he misremembered. All right. You got guys like that. Think about it. Remember when he walked up on Capitol Hill, the very politicians that were scheduled to judge him and interrogate him on Capitol Hill were being seen, just drooling all over him and taking pictures and wanting autographs from him before his damn testimony. This is what Capitol Hill does. So that kind of stuff that was happening, this is what they've done for baseball throughout history. And baseball knows it. And because of it, baseball has always been arrogant enough, because for years and years and years, spanning decades, they religiously had the strongest players association. They got away with a whole bunch of stuff. They didn't have to capitulate and acquiesce to the demands of the commissioner's office and beyond. It wasn't until Bud Selig arrived and really insisted upon addressing steroid use in the sport in the aftermath of the cancellation of the World Series, when the game was ultimately resurrected by Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, chasing Roger Maris's single-season home run record of 61 home runs at that time. It was shortly thereafter that Bud Selig really elevated, a sense of urgency towards discovering steroid users. The Mitchell Report coming out, using 103 names, heard about Barry Bonds, heard about Alex Rodriguez, heard about a whole bunch of people. All of this stuff was going on. But that's what it took. Meanwhile, because baseball was under a microscope, suddenly Capitol Hill felt the need to summon then Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, to Capitol Hill, Roger Goodell and others to explain about their sport because they didn't want to be perceived as really focusing on Major League Baseball, when in fact that's where the focus belonged. Baseball has been arrogant enough to think for many, many years it can get away with stuff other people couldn't. And that's why they're always late to the party. And any kind of corruption that you would think take place in other sports almost certainly takes place in baseball because they're the one sport that has proven for the most part they can get away with it. John, you're live with Stephen A. What's up? John, you're live on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen. I love your show.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, you and I went to the same high school together.
Thomas
Not
Edison?
together, but we went to the same high school.
Okay. Right, Thomas Edison.
Did you play basketball for Thomas Edison?
Yes, I did. I played for Harvey Stoller my senior year.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
I went to Thomas Edison in 1965.
All right. I was there in from 82 to 86.
Excellent. My second question is, Stephen, who do you think, in your opinion, should get the Met manager?
I have no clue. My boy Jeff Brown, who's a diehard Mets fan, for some inexplicable reason, he would be more qualified to answer that question than me. Obviously, a veteran manager, the LaRussas of the world, the Showalters of the world, even though Showalter's last stint in Baltimore was pretty hideous. The Joe Girardis of the boy, did they miss out on Joe Girardi. That's who they should have gotten all along. When he left the New York Yankees, that's who they should have got. They should have grabbed him quick, fast, and in a hurry. That's my personal estimation, but that didn't happen. I don't know who they should get at this point. I don't know who's left out there.
You got that right.
All right. Thank you so much, John.
They missed the boat on that.
Yeah, I know. They definitely did. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Marlon, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., thanks for taking my call, man.
Go ahead.
I love whatever you do, man. I love your show and everything, man. I always listen to you every single day.
Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, thanks. And I grew up in New York, right? And my mom used to take me to Yankee games, and I grew up as a Yankee fan. But now I live in Houston now, so I follow the Astros, And I tell you, with the owner with the situation, I won't be surprised. Like maybe before the start of the regular season, that he was just gonna voluntarily take the championship banner in the thing. I mean, I think so.
Stop. You're saying that you think they're going to take down the banners?
Yeah, I mean the owner, but just voluntarily, he might take down.
Listen,
the banner.
I think the World Series trophy should be removed from Houston Astros facilities. I think that the rings that are from every player, the championship rings, should be given back. They should not be able to have a championship ring, and they shouldn't be able to have that trophy, and they shouldn't be recognized as champions. That's how I feel about the Astros right now.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Johnny, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
Hey, God is good. I'd like to thank you. I called you before about the good old boys days when the NFL draft was going on. From Green Bay, I was just having my 6th shoulder surgery. That just came home, and you uplifted me. I don't want to talk about nothing negative. I want to talk about something positive. You are positive. And I'd like to thank you for looking out for every African American man. I like to thank you for speaking up for us. I like to also thank you for getting on us, because whatever we do in life is hold accountable. I look at Antonio Brown. I mean, man, it's a mess. But I'd just like to thank you. I am your number one fan, and I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Very much.
I appreciate that, Johnny. I really do. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it, man. God bless you and your family, man. You take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that. Getting a lot of those calls, emails, stuff like that. Tomorrow's my last show on ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show. I won't be hosting it. I'll be a fixture, though. I'll be around. You'll see me as a guest on a frequent basis. Who knows what's in my future in the audio world. I can tell you in television, I'll still be doing First Take. I'll be doing my own NBA show on Wednesdays, Sports Center with Stephen A. Smith, whenever we have a 7:30 p.m. NBA game. Of course, I'll be producing some content behind the scenes. Want to test my producer skills, per se. and see what I can come up with. ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and beyond. So definitely all of those things are things that I'm looking forward to exploring. You know, I love radio. I'm going to miss radio, and we're going to talk about a lot of that tomorrow because radio has been incredibly instrumental in the development of my career, and I made an awful lot of friends in this business. You just heard one of them, Michael K. I got great bosses like Tim McCarthy and Scott McCarthy in New York and L.A. respectively. My producer extraordinaire, Jonathan Winthrop, he's insane. He's crazy. I don't know how stable he is, but I love him. I love him like a brother. He's good people. Nuno Texiera. I don't know whether he's Portuguese or Mexican. He's never told me. He still hasn't told me. One day he will. My brother, Dave Roberts, the big boss here at ESPN, along with Norby Williamson. There's a whole bunch of people that I owe an incredible debt of gratitude towards. It's been a very successful run, very successful ride, and I'm not leaving for the wrong reasons. I'm leaving for the right reasons because I got some other things I want to do. Does not mean I won't be back someday. I can tell you that. Doesn't mean that I still won't be a fixture as a guest over these airwaves. It's just a lot of other things that I want to do. And now is the time to go for it and to try to accomplish it. And that's what that's all about. But I'm still a part of the ESPN family for years to come. And you will see it. You will hear from me. But we can focus more on that tomorrow. For now, we've been focusing on this baseball scandal. Of course, my man Dana White is scheduled to come up next. The boss of the UFC 246, tomorrow night in Las Vegas. Conor McGregor going up against Cowboy Cerrone. I will be in attendance for that fight. Looking forward to it. So that's coming up next. And again, I'll be back tomorrow for my very, very last show right here over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The one and only Dana White up next.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Vivid Seats, the top ticket source for the live events you crave, now has a loyalty program that allows fans to earn credit back. Go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, and enter promo code ESPN25 for 10% off your next order. It is my honor and privilege to have my next guest, my buddy, the commissioner extraordinaire, the boss of the UFC, somebody I wish was overseeing boxing, by the way, all pugilistic sports. I wish Dana White was overseeing it all. That way we'd get the fights we wanted to see when we wanted to see them, like we usually do with the UFC. The one and only Dana White, the boss of the UFC, right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. What's going on, big time? How are you, sir?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you feeling about this UFC event? Talk to me about how excited you are for tomorrow night's card. Or Saturday night.
It's always good to have Conor McGregor back. You know, he is one of the big, I was just saying this the other day, one of the biggest superstars in the history of combat sports, not just UFC. He is at the level of Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Sugar Ray Leonard. He's one of those guys. He's got the all-time #1 highest pay-per-view, and he's got most of the top 10 highest pay-per-views of all time. You know, he brings a different type of energy to fight week, and he's never, ever not in an exciting fight. So it's always good to have him back.
You know, I always take your words very, very seriously when you talk about these fighters because you've been unapologetic and not shy at all about calling out guys in terms of when it's their time and they're over, they're just done, and they need to walk away from the sport, including guys that you've had genuine love for. You've said they need to go. You've never said that about Conor McGregor, but he hasn't won a fight in the octagon in the last 3 years. How concerned are you about him for this particular fight? Because Cowboy Cerrone does know how to fight. He's lost 2 straight, but he's a veteran and he does know how to fight.
Well, not at all. I mean, if you look at Conor McGregor, you know, to say he hasn't won in the octagon, excuse me.
Bless you. All right.
Makes it sound like he hasn't won a fight. He lost to Khabib, who is undefeated 27-0. One of the greatest to ever do it. He lost that fight to him. That's it. Before that, he went in and knocked out Eddie Alvarez in the first round in a fight that many people believe Conor couldn't win. Not only did he win, he won easily and in the first round. So Conor McGregor is still one of the best fighters on planet Earth. If you saw the press conference yesterday, he seems like he is in a really good place right now, mentally, physically, and emotionally. The one thing about this fight that's crazy to me is the disrespect that has been shown to Cowboy Cerrone by the media, the odds makers, all this stuff. First of all, this guy's broke almost every record in the UFC, including most head kick knockouts, right? Mm-hmm. And He's ranked number 5 in the world. You know how hard it is to break into the top 5 in the UFC? Yeah. You have number 4 versus number 5. This fight is at 170 pounds. McGregor has fought at 170 pounds 2 times. He won one and he lost one against Nate Diaz. Yeah, so, I mean, this fight is going to be a much tougher fight than the odds makers are saying.
Listen, Cerrone's no joke. I mean, I was at his fight a couple of years ago when he knocked out some young kid. He was beating the living crap out of him. The kid is skilled. The man is skilled. But he has fought, he's fought 45 times. 11 losses, the last 2. How concerned about you for him in this particular fight?
Yeah, his last 2 losses are to number 1 and number 3. I mean, 2 of the absolute best guys in the world were his last 2 losses. So it's not like he lost to some slouch and some guy who's ranked, number 11 beat him. Number 1 and number 3 beat him. So this is a very, very, very good fight.
What does Cerrone have to do to win this fight in your estimation? You certainly see all of these guys fight. What does he need to do?
2 different things. If they're standing up, Cerrone needs to stay on the outside, use his leg kicks, use his knees, those elbows that he throws. And if this thing goes to the ground, Cowboy Cerrone has the most underrated ground game in the entire sport. His jiu-jitsu is sick. He has many ways to win this fight.
What about Conor McGregor? Because obviously he's a knockout artist. That's what we remember most about him. Obviously him stepping into the boxing ring and joking about that from time to time, even since the loss to Money Mayweather, where he made a pretty damn good showing, by the way. We know his boxing skills, his striking skills cannot be denied. But what other elements of his game does he need to bring to the table in order to beat Cerrone?
100%. Cerrone's a slow starter. McGregor needs to go out and just use that unbelievable head movement he has. He's very good with range and distance. He puts together unbelievable combinations. And the one thing about Conor McGregor, when he hits you, he hurts you. So I think that Conor needs to go out, put together those combinations, go after Cowboy fast before Cowboy starts to get warmed up and gets rolling.
Why is Conor fighting at 170 as opposed to making Cerrone come down? Because he's clearly the bigger man. Even at 170, he's clearly the bigger man than Conor McGregor. How come Conor McGregor didn't try to get him to come down a little bit?
Because he's an absolute maniac and doesn't listen to anybody. And, at 170, how happy Cowboy Cerrone is to be taking this fight at 170 pounds. Doesn't have to cut much weight. Probably is going to feel really strong, have a lot of energy, and, he's fought everybody at this weight. He's very comfortable at this weight. Conor McGregor was the 145-pound champion. When he moved to 55, people thought he couldn't win that fight. Now he's fighting at 70. I think it's insane, but it's one of the many reasons why we love Conor McGregor.
The great Dana White, the boss of the UFC, right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before I let you go, just a few more questions, Dana. We watched the press conference, with the stare down with Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone. We saw a mild-mannered Conor McGregor, especially compared to what we're accustomed to see him, how he tries to get inside an opponent's head, how he antagonizes and insults them and all of that other stuff. We saw nothing but respect for Cowboy Cerrone yesterday when they talked to one another. Talk to me about that. How surprised were you to see that version of Conor McGregor and knowing him the way you do, talking to him as many times as you have spoken to him? What does all of that mean to you where he's concerned, seeing this version of Conor McGregor?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised as much as I was happy. I was happy to see him. He looks like he's loving, this week. He's happy to be back here. He's in great spirits. And, especially a guy that works as hard as you do, Stephen A., you're everywhere, doing everything, right?
Yeah.
Now, if your personal life isn't together, nothing else works, right?
Right.
You have to have your personal life together to be able to do the things that we do. Conor McGregor seems like he's in a good place personally, which is making him in an amazing place professionally. So it was really good to see.
But what about the argument that, when you're him, and he talked about how he made $100 million for Mayweather. He made about, over $50 million against Nurmagomedov. He expects to make about $80 million for this particular fight when you take into account global sales and things of that nature. What about the argument that when people look at pugilists, sometimes they get civilized. The civilized mentality comes with the success, and that takes a little something away from them when they get into the ring or the octagon per se for combat. What about that notion when it comes to Conor McGregor? What can you say to us about that based on your experiences of watching what you've watched over the years?
I agree with you 100% that when a fighter becomes extremely wealthy, it is hard to stay at the level they were at when they were hungry. That is an absolute fact. It's a great question to raise, and that question will be answered on Saturday night by Conor. Only he knows the answer to that, and we're going to find out. Dana
White, before I let you go on out of here, who's the next Conor McGregor in your estimation? I'm not talking about fighters, because there's a lot of great fighters in the UFC. There's no doubt. But I'm talking about somebody who is as magnetic and charismatic, who commands attention, whose box office, somebody like Masvidal believes he could be that guy. Who do you see? Can you throw out a few names that you believe has the potential to be as magnetic as Conor McGregor, if there is anybody in your estimation?
Yeah, I believe that Masvidal has that, and I liked Masvidal early on in his career. I thought that he had that type of potential. Another guy is Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya, who's our middleweight champion right now. Guy's extremely talented, willing to fight everybody, wants to stay active, and has personality for days.
Dana White, good luck. You don't need it, though. This event is going to be mesmerizing. I can't wait to be in Vegas this Saturday night for this event. Thank you so much for joining the show. I'll see you in a few hours, actually.
Thank you, my friend. Safe travels.
All right, buddy. The one and only Dana White, the boss of the UFC. Right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY, ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. Let's just call it what it is. All of us can't wait to see what Conor McGregor has. We're hoping that he has a sensational performance. We're not trying to disrespect Cowboy Cerrone in any stretch of the imagination. I remember asking him a question yesterday about potential retirement, based off of the fact that, he's about 36 years of age. He's 34-11 in his career, had 45 fights, lost the last two, one by knockout. My attitude was, excuse me, you've been around for a long, long time. If you lose this, it'll be 3 in a row. Is potential retirement down the horizon? He said, hell no, laughed about it, felt disrespected. I meant no disrespect to Cowboy Cerrone whatsoever. And under normal circumstances, I certainly wouldn't be rooting against him. But I have to admit, if Conor McGregor loses convincingly here, whether he's submitted and is forced to tap out, or dare I say he gets knocked out, then you're going to be looking at Conor McGregor in an entirely different light. And you're going to talk about what might have been or what was, as opposed to what is and what will be. But if he wins, and he wins in convincing fashion, you and I both know we will be talking about Conor McGregor going up against Nurmagomedov in a rematch, which I think everybody will want to see. So that's what I'm rooting for Conor McGregor to show out, and ultimately for a rematch to take place between him and Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's my thinking. That's my wish list. What about yours? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, it's time for some straight talk. The big wireless carriers try to wow you with big deals, but the savings are very little. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get the exact same networks as the big guys, but saving up to half the cost. Right now, you can get the unlimited plan with up to 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G for just $45 a month. No contract, no mystery fees, all with nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.